Hello, I'm Kerry Gorgone, and this is Appfire Presents, the best project portfolio management show by Appfire. Today, we're going to address the question, how do I avoid killing my own projects? And to help us is Adrian Pyne. He's been a project professional for more than 30 years. He's the author of the book Agile Beyond IT, How to Develop Agility and Project Management in Any Sector. So stick around to find out how to avoid killing your own projects.
Appfire Presents, the best project portfolio management show by Appfire.
Adrian, thanks for joining us. I feel like, first of all, do you ever want to kill your own project and can't? It must be a mix of things, right?
It most certainly is. And there is a real irony built in here because, throughout my career, you get projects which are totally viable when you start them, and then something comes along and you say, well, actually, this is no longer what we should be doing, and the business rationale is no longer there, or the customer doesn't want it anymore, and it's really, really quite difficult sometimes to actually kill the project. The process may not actually easily be there. You try and give some money back to finance, and weirdly, finance people say, "But we've allocated the money to your project. What do you mean to say you don't want it anymore?" And it can be really, really hard to actually kill a project that should be killed deliberately. And yet, on the other side of the coin, organizations kill projects by accident all the time, and mainly because I guess you think about, this is a massive generalization, I know this, but mostly organizations are, unless they're kind of professional services that are project-based organizations, which most organizations aren't project-based, they do their business as usual is the same kind of business processes going on day after day, week after week, ad infinitum, and that's fine, and then along comes someone and says, hey, we've got a project, maybe a change project of some description, and you've got to try and shoehorn that in somehow, and very often you've got to have a sponsor for them, for example, who's usually a very, very busy senior manager who's got a day job they're spending sort of 70 hours a week on, and 120% of their time. And then they're told, hey, you've got a responsibility for this change project. And they say, well, how am I supposed to engage with that? And then there's resources. Very often change projects need subject matter experts from the business. And they're usually, the ones needed are usually the best people from the operation. And I've been an operational manager myself at times. And when someone comes along and says to me, hey, I'd like to take 2 of your best people away from you for 6 months, and that's all I'm going to do. And of course, I'm sitting there thinking, I've lost my best people. The team's productivity is going to go down. I'm not going to get my bonus. My team's not going to get their bonus. So in what way does this project benefit me and mine? And so, surprise, surprise, line managers do everything they can not to give the resources that otherwise have been promised. So there's all sorts of things like that. And then
Setting yourself up to fail.
Of course, absolutely. And there's things like, internal governance processes. I've come across so many organizations where the internal financial governance says you have to, everyone has an annual budget building process, and you have to put in your bid for how much money you want to run your department next year. That's great. But what about a project? A project, or especially programs, might be 2, 3, 4 years long. I've seen organizations where programs have had to fully redo business cases every single year, instead of saying, business case is just the same. You have already allocated me funds for the lifetime of the program, and we're managing against that. And I've got to spend 2 months as a program manager rebuilding the business case with everyone else that's involved. And that's madness. And it's not rare even now. So just in all those little ways add up. to actually make it really difficult for projects to thrive. And I kind of, in this, when we've all got over the horrors of COVID, but it's often seems to me that projects are like a virus in the body of an organization, and the body just has all these antibodies that it says, hey, this is no, you're not going to have resources, you're not going to have a sponsor who's engaged, we're going to make you jump through hoops you don't need to jump through as a project every year, and loads of other antibodies that just all gang up on this poor little defenseless project and just kill it off. and that's actually what happens.
Look, Agent Smith in the Matrix. Projects are a virus.
You got it. You absolutely got it. So I guess, Kerry, I'll steal your thunder here. We're going to go and ask, well, hey, what do we do about that? And it to me, it comes back to this idea that projects succeed or fail because of what happens both inside the project and what's happening in the organizational hinterland around them. And if you've got an organizational hinterland which just is not supportive of project type working, so that I mean, how many project professionals looking at this fantastic sort of podcast have to battle every day with the organization in some way, shape, or form to keep their projects running and just keep them alive? Well, I don't see the same thing happening on say a production line. Then with just in time, assuming the supply chain's working properly, then everything happens. You have to manage it for performance and throughput and teams and all that other stuff. But basically, the operation is set up to operate. With projects, the operation is set up to stop them operate, is to adapt themselves to being supportive of project ways of working and how they resource them, how they govern them, how they lead them, etc.
What about pet projects that you really wish would go away? Like somebody wants you to make 100 copies of their DVD that aired on public television 15 years ago, and you can't see what it's got to do with anything you should be working on. That
some years ago, one of my stints working in central government in the UK, I was asked to set up what was then called the Centre of Excellence in a very, very big government department for building a really good professional project management capability, including portfolio management, and that, of course, included managing the massive multi-billion pound change budget. And so the board were strongly behind this, and they were great sponsors for rolling this out. And everything was all tickety-boo until about 3 months into a financial year, when I was at a board meeting and I was presenting back on progress of the portfolio, when one of the board members piped up and said, "I've got this project I want us to do." And I kind of went, yeah. And so I said, well, that's fine. So what is it that we're going to drop from the portfolio in order to fund your project? And how do we justify that? Is it, oh, no, we've just got to do it. No. This is your budget. You've decided what it's going to be spent on. We've got a cake of a certain size. What are you going to have delay or fall out to do your project? And then it kind of came home to them what this all meant, and the pet project disappeared.
I love it. I'm going to keep that one in my back pocket. Not that happens a lot these days, Adrian. I work for a fantastic organization, but in the past, I have experienced it. Adrian, thank you for joining us. And everyone, if you would like to get a copy of Adrian's book, it's Agile Beyond IT by Adrian Pyne. So go and pick that up. And if you'd like more episodes of the best project portfolio management show by Appfire, you can find them at hub.appfire.com. We'll see you next time.